The morning started like any other Tuesday for Captain Jake Morrison. He was drinking his coffee on Luna Station, Earth's biggest space defense platform, when the alarms went off. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster, looked up from her screen with wide eyes. "Captain, we have contacts," Amy said, her voice shaking. "Big ones, really big ones." Jake put down his coffee and walked to the main display. What he saw made his blood run cold. 200 massive ships had appeared out of nowhere, floating above Earth like dark clouds. Each ship was the size of a small city, covered in strange metal that seemed to bend light around it. "Where did they come from?" Jake asked. "I don't know, sir. They just appeared. No warning, no signals. They're just there." Down on Earth, people were starting to notice. In New York City, Detective Ray Collins was directing traffic when people began pointing at the sky. He looked up and saw the alien ships hanging over the city like giant steel monsters. His radio crackled to life. "All units, this is dispatch. We have unidentified aircraft over all major cities. Military is taking control. Stay calm and help with evacuation." Ray had been a cop for 15 years. He had seen riots, terrorist attacks, and natural disasters. But this was different. This was something no one had ever prepared for. On the lead alien ship, Admiral Crix stretched his forearms and looked at the blue planet below. The humans called it Earth. Soon, it would be another world in the Zephyrian Empire. He had done this 47 times before. It was always the same. "Begin scanning for military installations," Crix ordered his crew. "Identify population centers, standard invasion protocol." His second-in-command, Captain Vex, looked at the data. "Sir, this species has primitive technology. Chemical rockets, basic nuclear weapons. They should surrender quickly." Crix nodded. The humans had barely left their home planet. They had a few small colonies and space stations, but nothing that could threaten hegemony. This would be over in a few hours. At the Quantum Research Institute in California, Dr. Lisa Chang was working late when her equipment started going crazy. Energy readings were off the charts. She had been studying quantum physics for 20 years, but she had never seen anything like this. "The energy signatures are incredible," she whispered to herself. "This technology is at least 50 years ahead of ours." Started recording everything. The alien ships were using some kind of quantum field generator for their shields. Their weapons worked on principles she could barely understand. But as she studied the data, she began to see patterns. "Wait a minute," she said. "Their shield frequency is stable. Too stable. That could be a weakness." At Earth Defense Command, Admiral Patricia Wells was having the worst day of her career. The alien fleet had appeared without warning. Every government on Earth was calling for answers she didn't have. The president was asking for options she couldn't give. "What do we know about their capabilities?" she asked her staff. "They're armed with energy weapons that could level cities," her intelligence officer reported. "Their shields are impenetrable to our weapons. Each ship carries approximately 10,000 troops." Admiral Wells did the math in her head. 2 million alien soldiers with technology decades beyond human capability. Earth's entire military couldn't stop them. "What about our space forces? Luna Station has the best weapons we have. Captain Morrison reports they could maybe take out 1 or 2 ships before being destroyed." The situation was hopeless. But Admiral Wells had not gotten to her position by giving up. She had been in the military for 30 years. She had fought in 3 wars and survived them all. She was not about to surrender without a fight. On Luna Station, Jake Morrison was getting reports from all over the solar system. The Mars colonies were preparing for attack. The mining stations in the asteroid belt were arming themselves. Even the research outposts were getting ready to fight. "Sure," Amy said. I'm getting a transmission from Dr. Chang on Earth. She says she's found something important about the alien ships. Jake activated the communication link. Dr. Chang's voice came through clearly. Captain Morrison, I've been analyzing the alien energy signatures. Their shields operate on a fixed quantum frequency. If we can match that frequency, our weapons might be able to penetrate their defenses. Jake felt a spark of hope. Are you sure, Doctor? I'm uploading the data now. It's not guaranteed, but it's our best chance. As the data came through, Jake realized that Dr. Chang might have given them the key to victory, but they would need to act fast. The alien ships were moving into attack positions. Down on Earth, people were starting to panic. Traffic jams clogged every major highway as families tried to evacuate the cities. But not everyone was running. In police stations, fire departments, and military bases, people were getting ready to fight. Detective Ray Collins had sent his wife and kids to his brother's farm outside the city. But he wasn't leaving. New York was his home, and he would defend it. Collins, his sergeant called. We're setting up defensive positions at the bridges and tunnels. You're with me. Ray nodded and checked his weapon. It was just a pistol against alien technology, but it was all he had. Back on the alien flagship, Admiral Crix was growing impatient. The humans should have surrendered by now. Most species gave up as soon as they saw the hegemony fleet. But Earth was still silent. Send them a surrender demand, Crix ordered. Tell them they have 1 hour to submit, or we will destroy their cities. The message was broadcast to every communication device on Earth. But instead of panic, it caused something else. Anger. Pure, burning human anger. Admiral Wells received the alien ultimatum and made a decision that would change everything. She activated the emergency broadcast system and spoke to every human in the solar system. This is Admiral Wells of Earth Defense Command. The alien fleet has demanded our surrender. They threaten to destroy our cities and enslave our people. I have one response to their demands. She paused, thinking of her own children and grandchildren. Come and take it. Those 4 words spread across human space like wildfire. From Earth to Mars, from Luna Station to the outer colonies, every human received the same message. They were not surrendering. They were going to fight. The war was about to begin. The first alien soldiers appeared in Times Square at exactly 2:27 in the afternoon. They came in flashes of blue light, their tall bodies covered in dark armor that seemed to absorb sunlight. Each soldier carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Detective Ray Collins was 3 blocks away when it happened. He heard the screaming first, then saw people running in all directions. He grabbed his radio and called for backup, but he knew help would take time to arrive. This is Collins. I'm moving toward Times Square. Send every available unit. He ran against the crowd, pushing through panicked tourists and office workers. When he reached the square, he saw them. 50 alien soldiers, 7 feet tall, moving in perfect formation. They were scanning the crowd with devices that looked like glowing eyes. Ray ducked behind a hot dog cart and watched. The aliens were not shooting randomly. They were looking for something specific. Leaders maybe, or weapons. Ray keyed his radio. All units, the aliens are not killing civilians. They want prisoners. Do not engage unless you have a clear shot. But even as he said it, Ray knew they were outgunned. His pistol would be useless against their armor. Still, he was not going to run. In space, Captain Jake Morrison was watching his tactical display with growing amazement. Dr. Chang's frequency data was working. The first human missiles to use the new settings had punched straight through alien shields like they were made of paper. Target the lead ship, Jake ordered. Full spread of modified torpedoes. The UES Intrepid, commanded by Captain Ben Carter, was leading the attack. Ben had been in the Navy for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. Human ships were actually damaging the alien fleet. Morrison, this is Carter. We're getting through their shields. Repeat, we are getting through their shields. Jake felt a surge of hope. Maybe they had a chance after all. But the alien ships were fighting back. Energy beams lanced out from the enemy fleet, and human ships began to explode. On the alien flagship, Admiral Crix was experiencing something. New fear. His shields were failing. His ships were taking damage. The primitive humans were somehow penetrating hegemony technology. How is this possible? He demanded. Captain Vex was studying the battle data. Sir, they have somehow matched our shield frequency. Our defenses are useless. Crix felt his confidence cracking. In 47 conquests, no species had ever damaged a hegemony ship. Now these humans were destroying his fleet. Back on Earth, the invasion was spreading. Alien troops were appearing in every major city. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Paris, all were under attack. But the humans were not behaving like other species. In Los Angeles, Sergeant Alex Stone was leading his Marine unit through downtown streets. They had lost contact with command, but they kept fighting. When they reached the federal building, they found it surrounded by alien soldiers. We're outnumbered 50-1, his corporal whispered. Alex looked at his men. They were scared, but they were ready. Then we make every shot count. The Marines opened fire from 3 different positions. Their bullets could not penetrate alien armor, but they could distract the enemy. The aliens turned to face the new threat, and that was when the real attack began. Mrs. Helen Rodriguez had been a high school teacher for 30 years. When the aliens appeared, she did not run home. Instead, she organized her students. They knew the city better than any soldier. They knew every tunnel, every building, every hiding place. Maria, take your team to the subway entrance, she told one of her students. Mark, you watch the parking garage. Signal if you see anything. The teenagers moved like ghosts through the city. They had cell phones, they had courage, and they had nothing to lose. When they spotted alien patrols, they called in the locations to police and military units. In New York, Detective Ray Collins was learning that the aliens had weaknesses. They were strong and fast, but they were not used to urban warfare. They moved in straight lines, expected clear fields of fire, and did not understand human tactics. Ray had found 5 other cops willing to stay and fight. They used the subway tunnels to move around the city. They could not hurt the aliens directly, but they could make them angry and confused. They're following patterns, Ray told his team. Military patterns. They expect us to fight like soldiers, but we're cops. We know how to hunt. The real breakthrough came when Dr. Lisa Chang made her second discovery. She had been monitoring alien communications, and she found something incredible. The aliens were not just talking to each other. They were connected to their ships through quantum links. If I can hack their communication system, she realized, I can send information directly to their ships. She began working frantically. The aliens used quantum encryption, but she had been studying quantum physics her whole life. Slowly she began to break their codes. At the same time, Captain Ben Carter was making a desperate decision. His ship was badly damaged, and alien reinforcements were arriving. He could retreat and live to fight another day, or he could try something that had never been done before. All hands, this is the captain. We're going to ram the alien command ship. Evacuate to the escape pods. That's in order. But his crew refused to leave. Sir, we're staying, his first officer said. If we're going down, we're taking them with. U.S. Ben felt proud and terrified at the same time. The Intrepid turned toward the massive alien vessel and accelerated. At the last second, Ben activated the ship's reactor overload. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. The alien command ship, along with 2 escort vessels, vanished in the blast. It was the first time in hegemony history that a primitive species had destroyed their ships through ramming attacks. On Luna Station, Jake Morrison watched the sacrifice of the Intrepid and felt something change inside him. These aliens had made a mistake. They had attacked humanity's home. Now, they were going to learn what that meant. All ships, this is Morrison. New orders, no retreat, no surrender. Make them pay for every meter of space. The message spread through the human fleet. From the smallest patrol boat to the largest cruiser, every human ship received the same command: fight to the death. Down on Earth, the pattern was the same. In every city, in every battle, humans were refusing to give up. They turned their cars into weapons, their buildings into fortresses, their knowledge of local terrain into deadly advantages. The aliens had expected to fight an army. Instead, they were fighting an entire species, and that species was very, very angry. Admiral Crix looked at his casualty reports and could not believe what he was seeing. In less than 10 minutes of combat, he had lost more ships than in his last 5 conquests combined. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. "Sir," Captain Vex reported, "our ground forces are requesting immediate evacuation. They cannot hold their positions." Crix stared at the blue planet below. How had this happened? How had these primitive creatures turned his perfect invasion into a disaster? The answer was simple, though he did not understand it yet. The aliens had made the mistake of threatening humanity's home, and humans would do anything, sacrifice anything, to protect their home. The real war was just beginning. By the 7th minute of the invasion, Admiral Crix was beginning to understand that something was terribly wrong. His tactical display showed losses that should have been impossible. Human ships were not just fighting back. They were destroying his fleet. The U.S. Defiance, commanded by Lieutenant Commander Sam Parker, had just received a call that would haunt him forever. Sergeant Alex Stone and his Marines were surrounded in downtown Los Angeles. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped. "Defiance, this is Stone. We need immediate orbital support on our position." Sam looked at his weapons officer. "Sergeant, that's right in the middle of the city. There are civilians everywhere." Alex's voice came back calm and steady. "Sir, the civilians are already gone. It's just us and 3,000 alien troops. We can't win this fight, but we can hurt them bad if you light us up." Sam had never received a request like this. Alex was asking him to fire on American soil, on American soldiers. But he was also asking him to save the city. "Stone, are you sure about this?" "Yes, sir." "Do it now, while we have them bunched up. Make it count." Sam closed his eyes and gave the order. The orbital strike hit downtown Los Angeles with the force of a small nuclear weapon. 6 city blocks vanished in white light. Alex Stone and his 12 Marines died instantly, along with every alien soldier in the area. It was the first time in human history that a military unit had called fire down on their own position. It would not be the last. In space, something even more incredible was happening. Every human settlement in the solar system was joining the fight without being asked. The research station on Europa had somehow turned their ice mining equipment into weapons. The Mars colonies were launching supply rockets filled with explosives. Even the prison colonies had broken out their inmates and armed them for battle. Dr. Lisa Chang had made another breakthrough. She had not just hacked the alien communication system. She had learned how to use it. Every alien ship in the fleet was now receiving human transmissions. "This is incredible," she whispered to herself. "I can send them anything. Pictures, videos, data files. She began uploading everything she could find about human warfare. Battle footage from World War II, videos from Vietnam, pictures from Iraq and Afghanistan. She wanted the aliens to understand exactly what kind of species they were fighting. On the alien flagship, Captain Vex was watching the human transmissions with growing horror. The images showed humans fighting in conditions that would break most species. Soldiers charging machine gun nests. Pilots flying damaged planes into enemy ships. Civilians fighting with bare hands against armored troops. "Sir," Vex said to Admiral Crix, "these humans appear to have no sense of self-preservation. They sacrifice themselves for tactical advantage." Crix studied the footage. In one video, a human soldier threw himself on an explosive device to protect his comrades. In another, a pilot crashed his burning plane into an enemy ship rather than ejecting the safety. "This is impossible," Crix muttered. "No species behaves this way." But the evidence was right in front of him. The humans were not just willing to die. They were using their deaths as weapons. In New York, Detective Ray Collins had turned the subway system into a nightmare for alien troops. He and his team had spent years learning every tunnel, every maintenance shaft, every hidden passage. The aliens had better technology, but they did not know the territory. "They're moving in Formation Delta through the Times Square station." Ray radioed to his partner, Officer Karen Price. "Hit them from the South Tunnel in 30 seconds. Karen and 5 other officers opened fire from hidden positions. There, bullets could not penetrate alien armor, but they could force the aliens to take cover. While the aliens were distracted, Ray's team planted explosives in the tunnel behind them. The blast trapped 50 alien soldiers on the ground. They were not killed, but they were cut off from their support. In the darkness of the tunnels, with humans who knew every inch of the terrain hunting them, the mighty Zephyrian warriors began to panic. Above ground, Mrs. Helen Rodriguez was coordinating civilian resistance with military precision. Her network of students had grown into a citywide intelligence operation. Every alien movement was tracked, reported, and countered. "They're trying to take the power plant," one of her students reported over the radio. "Tell Unit 7 to fall back to position Charlie," Helen responded. "Let them take the plant. We'll cut the power lines and trap them inside." The aliens captured the power plant exactly as Helen had planned. Then the lights went out. In the darkness, human resistance fighters who had lived in the city, their whole lives moved like ghosts. The aliens, dependent on their sensors and night vision, found themselves fighting blind. In space, the battle was reaching a climax. Captain Jake Morrison watched as human ships from across the solar system converged on the alien fleet. They came from Mars, from the asteroid belt, from the outer planets. Every human vessel that could carry weapons was joining the fight. The UES Courage, commanded by Captain Nick Washington, was leading a group of mining ships converted into warships. They were not military vessels, but they carried the most dangerous weapon in the universe. Humans who were fighting mad. "All ships, this is Washington. We're gonna punch a hole right through their formation. Follow me in." The mining ships accelerated toward the alien fleet. Their crews were miners, engineers, and workers. They were not soldiers, but they were humans defending their home. When alien energy beams began destroying their ships, they did not retreat. They accelerated. The U's Courage took a direct hit that should have destroyed it instantly. Instead, Captain Washington used his ships, emergency thrusters, to ram an alien cruiser. The collision destroyed both vessels, but it created an opening for the other human ships. Dr. Chang was monitoring the alien communications when she heard something that made her blood run cold. The aliens were not just afraid. They were terrified. "The humans are insane," one alien captain was saying. They attack when they should retreat. They sacrifice their own forces for minor tactical gains. They turn everything into a weapon. Another alien voice responded, Sir, we have reports from the surface. The humans are fighting with kitchen knives and homemade explosives. They are using their own vehicles as bombs. They are. The transmission cut off. Dr. Chang realized that the alien had probably been killed by the very humans he was describing. She began broadcasting a new message to the alien fleet. Not battle footage this time, but something much more frightening. She sent them the complete military history of humanity. Every war, every battle, every tactical innovation that humans had developed in thousands of years of constant warfare. The aliens began to understand what they were really fighting. Not just another species, but a race that had spent its entire evolutionary history perfecting the art of killing. Humans were not just good at war. War was what they were designed for. On Luna Station, Jake Morrison received a report that changed everything. The alien fleet was beginning to pull back. Not retreating, but regrouping. They were preparing for something big. Sir, Amy Foster said, I'm reading massive energy. Build-ups on their command ships. They're powering up some kind of superweapon. Jake realized that the aliens were getting desperate. They could not win a conventional battle, so they were going to try to destroy Earth entirely. All ships, this is Morrison. They're going for a planet killer. We have to stop them now. But even as he said it, Jake knew they were running out of time. The aliens had been fighting for less than 10 minutes, and they were already breaking. But a desperate enemy was the most dangerous kind. The real test was about to begin. By the 10th minute of the invasion, something had broken inside the Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Crix stared at his casualty reports and felt his world crumbling. 80% of his ground forces were dead, missing, or trapped. Half his fleet was destroyed or crippled. The humans were not just winning. They were hunting his people like animals. The psychological warfare reports were the worst part. His troops were sending messages that made no sense. Human children were building bombs. Elderly humans were setting traps in their homes. Entire families were volunteering for suicide missions. Sir, Captain Vex reported, his voice shaking. We just lost contact with Strike Team 7. Their last message was that they were being hunted through underground tunnels by humans with improvised weapons. Crix wanted to scream. His elite warriors, trained from birth for combat, were being defeated by civilians with kitchen knives and homemade explosives. How was this possible? On Earth, Detective Ray Collins was proving exactly how it was possible. He had turned the New York subway system into a maze of death. Every tunnel was booby-trapped. Every station hid human fighters. The aliens who entered never came out. Collins, this is Price. His partner's voice crackled over the radio. I've got 30 aliens trapped in the Grand Central lower level. They're asking for surrender terms. Ray almost laughed. Tell them we don't take prisoners. They started this war. We're gonna finish it. The aliens had made a fatal mistake. They expected humans to follow military rules. But this was not a military operation anymore. This was every human fighting for their home, their family, their species. There were no rules in a fight for survival. In space, Captain Jake Morrison was watching something incredible happen. Human ships from across the solar system were arriving in Earth orbit. Not military vessels, but civilian ships that had been turned into weapons. Cargo haulers with missile pods welded to their hulls. Passenger liners with their luxury cabins replaced by gun turrets. Even space tugs were carrying nuclear explosives. Sir, Amy Foster said, I'm reading over 300 human vessels approaching. They're not responding to military commands. They're operating independently. Jake realized what was happening. The human military was following orders, but civilian Ships were following something more powerful. They were following rage. Dr. Lisa Chang had intercepted more alien communications, and what she heard made her want to throw up. The aliens were discussing whether to surrender or to destroy Earth completely rather than admit defeat. There, talking about using their planet killer weapon, she told Admiral Wells over the emergency channel. If they can't have Earth, they'll make sure no one can. Admiral Wells felt ice in her veins. How long do we have? Their weapon needs 15 minutes to charge. We have maybe 5 minutes before they start the process. That was when Dr. Chang realized she had one more weapon to use. The alien communication system was not just for talking. It was connected to their ship computers. If she could hack deep enough, she might be able to do more than send messages. She began typing, faster than she had ever typed in her life. The alien security systems were incredibly advanced, but they had one weakness. They were designed to keep outsiders from getting in. They were not designed to keep information from getting out. On the alien flagship, something impossible was happening. Human data was appearing on every screen in every computer system throughout the entire fleet. Not just battle footage this time, but something much worse. The humans had sent in their entertainment. Movies about alien invasions where humans always won. Books about human warriors who never gave up. Video games where players fought against impossible odds and emerged victorious. But worse than the fiction was the reality. Historical documents showing how humans had survived ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and constant warfare. Archaeological evidence proving that humans were the only species on their planet that had never gone extinct, despite thousands of other species disappearing around them. Captain Vex was reading a document about human behavior during their Second World War when he began to understand the true horror of what they were fighting. "Sir," he whispered to Admiral Crix, "according to this data, when human cities were bombed, the survivors did not flee. They stayed and fought harder. When their soldiers were captured, they continued to resist even under torture. When their nations were invaded, every citizen became a warrior." Crix read the documents himself and felt something he had never experienced before. Pure, overwhelming terror. The humans were not just tough. They were unstoppable. In Los Angeles, the site where Sergeant Alex Stone had died, something amazing was happening. Civilians were arriving at the blast crater to continue the fight. They brought hunting rifles, construction tools, anything that could be used as a weapon. Stone's last stand, they were calling it. The place where 12 Marines had killed 3,000 aliens by calling fire on themselves. It had become a symbol of human determination. Mrs. Helen Rodriguez arrived with a busload of her students. They were not soldiers, but they knew the city. They knew where to hide, where to strike, where to make the aliens pay for every block they tried to take. "What are our orders, Mrs. Rodriguez?" one of her students asked. Helen looked at the crater where brave soldiers had died. "Make them regret coming here," she said simply. In space, the battle was reaching its final phase. The alien fleet was trying to retreat to a safe distance where they could use their planet killer weapon. But the human ships were not letting them go. Captain Nick Washington's mining ship had been destroyed, but he had ejected in an escape pod. Instead of heading to safety, he had programmed the pod to ram an alien destroyer. The small pod could not damage the huge ship, but it could. Attached to the hull, Washington used the pod's emergency beacon to broadcast human coordinates directly to the alien ship's bridge. Every human vessel in the area turned their weapons toward his signal. The destroyer vanished in a storm of missile fire. Washington died in the explosion, but his sacrifice had shown other humans how to defeat ships that were much larger than their own. All across the battle zone, human crews were making the same choice. Rather than retreat, they were using their ships as weapons. Rather than surrender, they were turning their deaths into victories. Admiral Crix watched his fleet being torn apart by an enemy that refused to follow any logical pattern of behavior. Human ships would ram his vessels, even when they had escape routes. Human soldiers would fight to the death, even when offered terms of surrender. Human civilians would attack his troops, even when they had no chance of winning. "Sir, Captain," Vex said quietly, "I recommend immediate withdrawal. If we stay, they will destroy the entire fleet." Crix knew his second-in-command was right, but withdrawal meant admitting that the mighty Zephyrian hegemony had been defeated by a species that had barely learned to travel between planets. "Prepare the planet killer," he ordered. "If we cannot conquer them, we will destroy them." But even as he gave the order, Crix knew it was too late. Dr. Chang's hack had given humans access to all alien communications. They knew about the super weapon. They knew it was being charged, and they were coming for it. The final phase of the battle was about to begin, and the humans were very, very angry. At 2:41 in the afternoon, exactly 14 minutes after the invasion began, Admiral Crix made the decision that would haunt the Zephyrian hegemony forever. His finger hovered over the communication console as he prepared to send the most shameful order in military history. All ships, he broadcast to his remaining fleet, immediate withdrawal, full retreat. Abandon all ground forces. Captain Vex stared at his commander in shock. "Sir, what about the planet killer weapon?" Crix looked at the tactical display one more time. Half his fleet was gone. His ground forces were being hunted through city streets by human civilians. His elite troops were surrendering to police, officers and schoolteachers. "The weapon is useless," Crix said quietly. "Even if we destroy their planet, they will find a way to make us pay for it. These humans are not like other species. They do not know how to give up." On Luna Station, Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien ships begin to retreat and felt a mixture of relief and amazement. The impossible had happened. Humanity had won. "Sir," Lieutenant Amy Foster said, "we're receiving surrender signals from the remaining alien ground forces. They want to negotiate terms." Jake thought about Sergeant Alex Stone and his Marines. He thought about Captain Ben Carter and the crew of the Intrepid. He thought about all the humans who had died in the last 14 minutes. "Tell them we do not negotiate with invaders," Jake said. "They can surrender unconditionally, or they can die fighting. Those are their only choices." Down on Earth, Detective Ray Collins emerged from the subway tunnels to find New York City covered in smoke and debris. But the people were already coming back. Shop owners were checking their stores. Parents were looking for their children. The city was wounded, but alive. "Collins," his sergeant called over the radio, "we have alien prisoners requesting protective custody. They say they are afraid of civilian reprisals." Ray looked around at the damaged city and the angry people in the streets. The aliens were right to be afraid. The people of New York had just fought a war in their own backyard, and they were not in a forgiving mood. "Put them in holding cells," Ray said, "and make sure they get protection. We are better than they are." In California, Dr. Eliza Chang was still monitoring alien communications when she intercepted something incredible. The retreating Zephyrian ships were broadcasting warnings to their home fleet. Not military reports, but terror messages. "Do not approach human space," one transmission said. "They are beyond conventional warfare. They turn their entire civilization into a weapon. They fight with no regard for their own survival." Another message was even more frightening. "The humans have no military doctrine because every human is a warrior. They have no rules of engagement because they do not engage. They exterminate." Dr. Chang realized that humanity had just gained something more valuable than victory. They had gained a reputation. Word would spread throughout the galaxy that humans were not to be attacked under any circumstances. Mrs. Helen Rodriguez was helping her students clean up their improvised command center when she received a call from the mayor's office. "Mrs. Rodriguez," the voice said, "the president wants to give you and your students the Medal of Freedom for your actions during the invasion." Helen looked at her teenagers, who had spent the last 14 minutes acting like seasoned intelligence officers. "Tell the president we appreciate the honor," she said, "but we were just protecting our home." Any teacher would have done the same thing. The alien retreat was not orderly. Ships fled in all directions, abandoning equipment, supplies, and wounded soldiers. The mighty Zephyrian fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was running in pure panic from a species they had thought would be easy to defeat. Admiral Crick sat in his command chair and tried to understand what had gone wrong. His forces had superior technology, greater numbers, and centuries of military experience. But they had lost to humans who used civilian vehicles as weapons and turned their own deaths into tactical advantages. The truth was simple, but Crix could not accept it. The Zephyrians had spent so long conquering weak civilizations that they had forgotten what real warfare looked like. They had never fought a species that had evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill them. Humans had survived ice ages by working together. They had survived plagues by taking care of each other. They had survived predators by becoming better predators. They had survived other humans by becoming the best warriors in the galaxy. 3 days after the invasion, the Zephyrian Hegemony's ruling council sent an official message to Earth. It was not a treaty or a negotiation. It was a warning to every species in their empire. Classification: human space, extreme danger. All vessels are prohibited from entering human territory. All contact with human ships is forbidden. Violation of this order is punishable by death. The message continued. The human species has been classified as a Type 7 extinction threat. They possess the ability and willingness to destroy entire civilizations if provoked. They show no fear of death and use suicide tactics as standard. Military doctrine. Admiral Patricia Wells read the alien message and smiled grimly. Humanity had not asked to be left alone. They had demanded it, and they had made their point clear. The final alien casualty report was devastating. 2 million soldiers deployed, less than 300,000 evacuated. The rest were dead, missing, or had surrendered to human forces. The Zephyrian fleet had lost 60% of its ships. Human casualties were also heavy. 40,000 military personnel and 80,000 civilians had died defending Earth, but they had died for victory, and their sacrifice had saved their entire species. In the weeks that followed, other alien civilizations began to receive the same message from the Zephyrian hegemony: stay away from human space. The humans were too dangerous to fight, too stubborn to negotiate with, and too crazy to predict. Captain Jake Morrison was promoted to admiral and put in charge of expanding Earth's defenses. His first order was to build more weapons. His second order was to make sure every human in the solar system knew how to fight. Detective Ray Collins returned to his normal patrol, but New York was not the same city. Everyone who had lived through the invasion knew they had been part of something historic. They had faced the unknown and won. Dr. Lisa Chang continued her research, but now she had alien technology to study. The Zephyrians had left behind equipment that would advance human science by decades. Their attempt to conquer Earth had made humanity stronger. Mrs. Helen Rodriguez went back to teaching, but her lessons now included practical subjects like emergency communications and urban survival. Her students had proven that age was not important when your home was threatened. The 14-minute war was over, but its effects would last forever. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not as explorers or diplomats, but as the species you never wanted to fight. The message was clear to every alien civilization. Earth was off limits. Humans were to be avoided at all costs. And if you were stupid enough to attack them, you would learn why they had survived everything their own planet could throw at them. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, and humanity was perfectly fine with that.